Imagine that Wi-Fi disappears right now. Your phone shows no internet. Your laptop becomes useless without a cable. Your smart TV turns into just a screen.
Artlist.io.
We live in a world where billions of devices send data through the air every second. But less than 30 years ago, Wi-Fi didn't exist. And the story of how it was created is much longer than most people think. It didn't start with the internet. It didn't start with computers. It started with physics.
Music licensing
In 1887,
reimagined.
a German physicist named Heinrich Hertz proved that electromagnetic waves were real. Years earlier, James Clerk Maxwell had predicted their existence mathematically. Hertz demonstrated that invisible waves could travel through space without wires. This discovery changed everything. It meant that energy and signals could move through the air. A few years later, Guglielmo Marconi used this principle to create wireless telegraphy. Messages could now be transmitted across long distances without physical connections. Eventually, radio was born, then television. But these were analog signals, sound and images, not digital data. For decades, wireless communication was mainly
Music
about voice
licensing
and broadcasting.
reimagined.
Meanwhile, something else was happening. Computers were being invented. In the 1950s and 1960s, early computers were massive machines that filled entire rooms. When engineers wanted computers to communicate, they used cables. Physical wires connected machine to machine. This worked, but it created limitations. Cables were expensive. They restricted movement. They made networking complex and inflexible.
Artlist.io.
In the late 1960s, ARPANET, the early version of the internet, connected computers using wired connections. The internet itself was born through cables. But as computing evolved, one problem became clear: mobility. If computers were going to become smaller and personal, they couldn't
Music
remain
licensing
physically tied to
reimagined.
walls. Engineers began asking a question: if we can transmit voice through radio waves, can we transmit digital data the same way? The challenge was enormous. Digital data is made of binary, ones and zeros. To send that through radio waves, signals must be encoded precisely. Radio environments are noisy. Signals collide. Interference disrupts transmission. Unlike a cable, the air is unpredictable.
Artlist.io.
Interestingly, one of the key ideas that later influenced wireless communication came from an unexpected place. In 1941, Hollywood actress Hedy Lamarr and composer George Antheil patented a system called frequency hopping. Their idea was designed to prevent radio-controlled
Music
torpedoes
licensing
from being jammed
reimagined.
during World War II. The concept was simple but powerful. Instead of transmitting on a single frequency, the signal would rapidly switch between many frequencies in a synchronized pattern. Only a receiver following the same pattern could understand the transmission. Although the military did not fully implement their invention at the time, the principle of frequency
Artlist.io.
hopping later became foundational in secure wireless communication. Technologies like Bluetooth and parts of modern wireless systems use variations of this concept. Fast forward to the 1970s. At the University of Hawaii in 1971, researchers developed
Music
AlohaNet.
licensing
It was one of the first
reimagined.
wireless packet-based communication networks. It connected computers across islands using radio signals. But there was a problem. If two computers transmitted data at the same time, their signals collided. Data was lost. Engineers solved this by introducing random delays before retransmission. This simple idea became one of the foundations of how wireless networks manage access to shared airspace. Through the
Artlist.io.
1980s and early 1990s, companies experimented with different proprietary wireless networking systems. However, there was no universal standard. Devices from different manufacturers often couldn't communicate with each other. That changed in 1997. The Institute of Electrical and
Music
Electronics
licensing
Engineers, known as
reimagined.
IEEE, introduced the first official wireless networking standard, 802.11. It operated in the 2.4 GHz frequency band and supported speeds of 1 to 2 megabits per second. By today's standards, that's extremely slow, but at the time it was revolutionary. In 1999, An improved version called 802.11b increased speeds to 11 megabits per second.
Artlist.io.
That same year, the Wi-Fi Alliance was formed to certify devices for compatibility. The term Wi-Fi became the commercial name for products based on the 802.11 standard. Standardization was critical. Without it, wireless networking would have remained fragmented. Because companies
Music
agreed to follow the
licensing
same technical
reimagined.
rules, devices from different brands could communicate seamlessly. This cooperation accelerated adoption worldwide. Now let's understand how Wi-Fi actually works. Wi-Fi uses radio waves, typically in the 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, and more recently 6 GHz frequency bands. A router is connected to the internet through a physical cable, usually fiber or Ethernet. The router takes incoming digital data and converts it into radio signals using a process called modulation. Those waves travel through the air. Your phone, laptop, or smart device contains a wireless chip that detects those waves, demodulates the signal, and reconstructs the digital information. This process happens incredibly fast.
licensing
Millions
reimagined.
or even billions of bits are transmitted every second. Modern Wi-Fi uses advanced technologies to improve performance. One of them is OFDM, which stands for Orthogonal Frequency Division Multiplexing. Instead of sending data on a single frequency, Wi-Fi divides the signal into multiple smaller sub-frequencies.
Artlist.io.
This increases efficiency and reduces interference. Another innovation is MIMO, which stands for Multiple Input, Multiple Output. Routers and devices use multiple antennas to send and receive several data streams simultaneously. This dramatically increases speed and reliability. As
Music
demand grew,
licensing
Wi-Fi
reimagined.
evolved. Wi-Fi 4, based on the 802.n standard, introduced significant speed improvements and better signal handling. Wi-Fi 5, known as 802.ac, enabled gigabit speeds. Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E improved efficiency, especially in environments with many connected devices. Wi-Fi 7, the newest generation, promises theoretical speeds exceeding 40 gigabits per second under
Artlist.io.
ideal conditions. However, wireless communication still obeys the laws of physics. Lower frequencies like 2.4 GHz travel farther and penetrate walls better, but they are slower and more prone to interference from devices like microwaves and Bluetooth. Higher frequencies like 5 GHz
Music
and 6
licensing
GHz
reimagined.
provide faster speeds but shorter range and weaker wall penetration. Even human bodies absorb some wireless energy because our bodies contain water which interacts with electromagnetic waves. The explosion of smartphones after 2007 made Wi-Fi essential. Mobile data networks were expensive and slow at the time. Wi-Fi provided a faster and cheaper alternative. As homes installed routers and cities added public
Artlist.io.
hotspots, wireless connectivity became normal. Today, billions of devices rely on Wi-Fi. Not just phones and laptops, but smart home systems, security cameras, TVs, game consoles, and industrial equipment. What started as a physics experiment in the 19th century evolved into a
licensing
global
reimagined.
infrastructure invisible to most people. Wi-Fi is not magic. It is electromagnetic waves carrying precisely encoded digital information, bouncing through walls, reflecting off surfaces, and arriving at tiny antennas inside your devices. It is the result of scientific discovery, military research, engineering innovation, and international cooperation. Over more than 100 years, humanity learned how to send
Artlist.io.
massive amounts of data through empty space, almost instantly. And the most remarkable part is this: we rarely think about it until the signal drops, and suddenly the invisible system holding our digital world together becomes very visible. That is the story of how we
Music
learned to
licensing
send the internet
reimagined.
through the air.